TG Geeks, episode 139, October 16th, 2016. Discover zombies and popcorn in space? Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. And I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from a place where while trekking through the stars, I've discovered I live on the Orville, Phoenix, Arizona.
The Orville. Redenbacher is in
popcorn. Get it? But I'm fine.
There we go.
Thank you.
We'll be here all week.
Oh, yeah, be sure to try the steak. It was actually really good last night.
Yeah. All right, we have a little interview for you today, and we're just going to jump right into it here. And this time we have with us on the phone we've got the team behind I Am Alone the Movie, the independent found footage zombie film that was just released on September 22nd. We have Michael Weiss and Robert Palmer. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us on. Guys. Hey, what's going on?
Yay. So you guys, I almost lapsed into a Philly accent there. That was interesting. I don't have any clue.
We can get all Philly if you want.
Yeah, no.
Well,
let's not do that. I was in Philadelphia last week. So.
Well, we had plenty of opportunity to get silly last time, and for anybody who's listening to these two for the first time, we had the pleasure of interviewing you in episode 50. At Phoenix Comicon Fan
Episode
Fest.
50, and this is going to be episode 140. So
good.
That was 90
episodes ago.
That was
90 episodes. All right.
Wow. That was early in early in our podcasting career, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, tell us about I Am Alone the movie, and tell us about the film first, and then we'll get who you guys are, and then why we're talking to you again. How's that?
Perfect.
Did that make any sense?
For those who aren't familiar with our film, it's called I'm Alone. It stars Gareth David Lloyd from Doctor Who's Torchwood and Dark Signal, another UK horror film. And our other star is Gunnar Wright from the sci-fi movie Love. He's a lot of commercials, and they're both video game voices. We also have a great talent in Rory Thacker and Marshall Hilton. So the movie I'm Alone is simply about a survival host, very similar to Bear Grylls, who sets out into the wild for their fourth season show. It was a hand-picked episode in Colorado, and the premise is Gareth's character Jacob goes into the wilderness on his own. His team, his producer, played by Rory, and his cameraman Gunnar, they're left behind, and we follow Jacob's adventure. And what happens in this story is there's a viral outbreak very similar to the zombie outbreak. And Gareth gets bit, and rather than transforming right away, it's a story about his survival. He doesn't know what's happening to him, but he's getting sicker and sicker, and he's treating his survival instinct as just another part of his adventure. But as he gets sicker, the people around him start to attack him, and things start to go to hell.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the premise.
Yeah, it really, we've seen it a couple of times, and as I said in my Facebook post, it's one of the better found footage films.
I'm not a big fan of found footage. So basically, what we basically have here is a zombie film. So what was the intent to want to make this kind of a zombie film? Why this particular approach as to some of the more other zombie films that we've seen leading up to that?
Well, I think as a whole, we knew we would have
limited budget and limited resources. So we came up with an idea that we could actually shoot that would kind of help out, production and help out, get this just, to the masses. I think when we set out to write this, we didn't set out to write this with, I guess the mountain was the only problem.
Yeah.
We didn't set out to write this with a big budget. So it was fairly easy to write, once we knew, our direction.
I was for the original script. In the script, there is no original script. In the script, we wrote zombies as a group of zombies, a handful of zombies.
4 or 5. Yeah.
We didn't know whether we were going to be able to pull off zombies, and by happenstance, the town Montrose, Colorado, a friend of ours, Chasen, his family were their original homesteaders. So, like a lot of the movie, like 90% of the movie outside of the bunker scene, which was shot in L.A., was shot on this mountain.
Yeah, it was shot on private property.
So we didn't have the regulations. We didn't have to go through the permits. We didn't have to go through a lot of the things that foil
renting a mountain.
Yeah, so we had a mountain, and we told people, they drove up, and logistically it was a nightmare. But
yeah,
but we pulled it off.
We got everyone there. Yeah, we got everyone.
Safely, no injuries.
The whole town of Montrose, Colorado, is featured in the film.
Yeah, no, they are. They were a big part of the film. I mean, we had to go out. I mean, at least 4 months before we even shot, we went out to the town to introduce ourselves, tell them we were coming, and tell them what we were doing. And they thought Warner Brothers was showing up with all the movie trucks and trailers and whatnot, and
you showed up with a minivan.
Yes, exactly what it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
But here's the funny thing: about a month after we left in 2013, we started getting a bunch of phone calls from friends that we had made. They're like, "Tarantino's in town," and we were like, "What?" He's like, "He's scouting the Hateful Eight," and we're all trying to tell him about your movie. And he's like, "He's never going to hear about our film." I'm like, "It's cool. You guys can try to work on a Tarantino film, but it won't help." So that was just a funny thing. They're all like Tarantino's here. We made a movie here in this town.
Yeah, but I gotta say the town opened their hearts and opened their arms up to our film. And when they figured out how independent we were, they gladly helped out and came out in droves for us, which really helped our production out.
Yeah,
and our mindset, really.
Yeah, what we could do, especially in that attack scene. Yeah.
It's a great little town. My grandfather had a business there for a number of years, and before he died, and moved away, and then he died afterwards. But it's a really neat little town up in the mountains. It's a hop, skip, and a jump from Telluride, and on the other side, to Silverton, and then down to Durango.
Black Canyon.
Black Canyon
is
way up there, or not way up there, but just right up there. It's really just beautiful. Beautiful country.
So we owed them a lot. I mean, they're really the 12th person club, because we had a security team. Rick Brissett and his guys came out and helped, and Michael and I, we're not survivors. I mean, we both have reality TV background.
Right.
We started, and I'm, as a producer, I've been in a lot of situations. I've never been on a mountain like that. So when we wrote the script, it was we hope we can get a technical advisor, right? and we wrote it in a way that we can safely do certain things, but when the town got so involved with us, we were able to explore a much wider, more adventurous sort of take on the story.
But also thinking about that now, I mean, safer. I don't know. knowing what went into the safety, I don't know if we were actually that safe without that,
Right.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure, and in the heart, literally at the heart of the story was we wanted to tell a very personal zombie story. I think, when we were researching, before I think we even wrote it, I mean, we've been watching horror films. We go to a horror-thon once a year at our friend's place, which is coming up. We get really excited. So we realized there was a lack of actual humanity. I think, people, get so focused on the gore. People get so focused on, people trapped in a mall, people trapped in a, And then as much as we love Dawn of the Dead and all the Romero films, there's definitely some fatigue. Even to this day, The Walking Dead has definitely fatigued. As much as we love it, there's a fatigue of zombie films. And found footage, we knew has sort of a knock on it, and it's mostly because, people think found footage films are done fast and cheap. And the truth is that it's actually very difficult to shoot a found footage movie because the camera is a living, breathing entity in the story. When you do a standard, narrative film, you can set up the camera, you have time to plot it, you have time, but we had to see in the barn with Gunner where he kicks the door open and we have 50 zombies and the camera's mounted on his head and he's holding the camera in his hand. It's like, well, how are we able to tell this story that's not just going to feel like somebody threw a camera down the chimney chute?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very difficult thing. And, and since we released the movie, people are like, well, we want to see it, but it has found footage. It's like, no. It's found footage style. We were very cognizant in how we made the film. And
it's how we tell the story.
Exactly.
How the story is told, I think, is very different than a normal found footage film.
Absolutely.
It doesn't follow the normal trope.
Like the one thing we wanted to stay away from, and not that we're knocking it, but, most found footage, at least in our interpretation, is, like Cloverfield. As much as we love Cloverfield, it's like this footage was found, and we're just going to watch it, sight unseen. Or it's the other one where it's same sort of concept. There's a reality TV show, and we're ghost hunters, and we're gonna go into the haunted mansion, and we took a different approach and said the found footage is only part of the story. It's really about Gareth, his character Jacob, dying on a mountain. He could have been dying from a bear attack.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
The cameras were just a way for us to tell this story. And I know. People will still find fault in our style, because that's the nature of the entertainment world right now. Is everyone's looking, there's so much information, but we've made a very, very strong effort to, utilize the cameras the way they should. There's many cameras in the beginning of the movie, and as the people get sicker, the situations get worse and worse, there's less and less cameras. There's less battery life. So we knew the tropes of what people really knocked about found footage and try to make sure we address those things. And I think we did a successful job, but, that's up to the audience to decide.
Well, it's one of the things that I really loved about this film because, as Keith said earlier, I just cannot, generally speaking, I cannot stand found footage films because all they're doing is they're just providing a different camera angle to any kind of story that could be told with a steady cam, and the only difference is now we've got vomit cam, and I've really grown to hate that. And the only movies that have utilized this particular medium that I thought were really good were those that actually give you a very intimate glimpse into the human psyche.
Right.
And that's one of the neat things that I find about this film, as we get to see how Jacob is being affected by what's going on here. It's almost like his own personal descent. And I think that's one of the things that I loved about not only the use of a found footage idea, but also as a zombie film. And that's what's really kind of got me really curious as to, okay, so you said that when you approached the making of this movie, it was, you looked at it this way and this other way and thought, okay, this is the amount of money that we've got, so we have to approach it this way. Did the idea of it being such a personal story for Jacob through the use of this footage, did that come as a result of you're looking at the film from a practical standpoint, or did it come kind of independently of that? Because the idea of form following function or vice versa is a really fascinating study with this movie.
Well, I think that I think it was built into the story, basically. What Rob and I set out to do is that we said, at every moment that Jacob or Mason is speaking, what camera is going to be looking at them, and who are they going to be holding the camera? What is the function of the actual camera to tell a story? Because, like you said, we didn't want to tell a story where you just cut across the street and you see some security cam. There had to be some function for it. So if we were looking at it, that meant, like, if it was a security cam, that meant the CDC, okay, that this is the CDC's camera that they're looking at. But if Jacob's never just walking by something and a camera picks up his conversation. We always wanted him to be telling a story, because really, as the host of a reality TV show and his own, and something that's so personal to him, that's what he's doing. He's talking to the audience constantly. So we felt like the more we can have them interact with the camera, then the less we'd have to like show just kind of erroneous cameras picking up conversations in the story.
And the truth is, and something we learned about how difficult found footage is, a lot of our cameras, I mean, I gotta say, Mike was definitely challenged in the edit with, limited, time code and resources. So it might have been easier for us to maybe shoot in a short amount of time, but it certainly made our edit quite difficult.
We had like six to seven cameras rolling at once.
Oh my Lord!
On a scene, so it was like we wanted to say that like if Jacob is a survivalist and he's talking, well, he'd have a helmet cam, he'd have something he's holding, he would have put he would have found a cool camera angle and gone to put a third camera somewhere, so that when he walks into the scene, everything is set up for himself. So we really kind of thought about how to use the camera as part of the story and make it as a living, breathing entity, as Rob said before.
And our world that we tried to build was there's cameras everywhere. If and especially now, I mean, we shot most of it in 2013, which is still relevant then. It's not like we're talking about 1993. But like there's cameras everywhere. So the cities, Britain is the most monitored city. Now the U.S. is going to become, or the country. Now the U.S. is becoming, a monitored state. Like there's cameras. People are protecting themselves. They're protecting their goods in the barns. They're protecting, the deer camps. That was something else we toyed with. We never did. There's cameras everywhere now. Cameras are so inexpensive. So to have cameras places would make sense. Now the government, in our story, Dr. Marlowe being smart enough to realize there's footage, we can utilize our resources to tell a narrative for the government. You know what I mean? The whole point of the bunkers, the government's trying to tell a narrative of their own. Like, we know this thing is falling apart on us quickly, and we can't respond fast enough. And if there's footage that we need to sit through and figure out, well, let's do it. Let's utilize whatever resources. These scientists, could be figuring out the cure while we're figuring other things out.
There's almost something Orwellian about that.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, we haven't put it on the IMDb yet, but the name Dr. Marlowe is from Hearts of Darkness. Like, we literally, reading Conrad's novel, like, it was, Dr. Marlowe, I mean, that was direct reference to, like, going into madness. It was just another way of referencing the madness. Like, the doctor, at one point has a nice scene where he references, losing his family. Like, he's so dedicated, to the cause of saving humanity that it comes at your own loss, which is a form of madness. Like, if I can save one person, or if I can save the world, I can save everybody, especially, I don't know if my family's alive or dead. So we try to give everybody a little bit of humanity. Gunnar has, scenes where he's trying to get to his friend. His humanity is his friend. Gareth, mentality is, I have a show to do, but when he realizes things are going bad, it becomes about his family and not about a show.
Right.
So there's a lot of themes that I think, we layered in subtly.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good study in the human condition, as Ben had said in his review. So I want to ask, when was the first film festival you did? I know that we saw it at FanFest in
2015,
December of 2015. Was that early on in its film festival run, or?
That was like literally right in the middle, because we started to submit like early 2015, and I think we started to getting accepted in late August, early September. So right around mid-August in 2015, we went back to the drive-in and presented the movie. That was like our thank you screening, but it was really more like kind of like a premiere. And so that was like the first public viewing. We had never shown it publicly anywhere until the town had seen it. So I had to drive in for 3 nights. And then I think we got in the Comicon in New York State, I believe, was first. And then they started to roll RIP in LA. Then we got into one in Brazil and Spain. In England, we got into a bunch. No, none in Australia. You know, and then it started rolling. Then Phoenix Comicon.
Yeah, it was like all the fall of 2000.
Yeah, and then at Phoenix Comicon, we were fortunate because Gareth. I mean, we don't get to see Gareth enough because he lives in Wales. But he was, you know, we found out and we're like, all right, well, you know, let's have something for Gareth. Let's do something at the Phoenix Comicon, and that was honestly like we were only there for I think one night. It was like
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was like one of the most fun. We got to hang out with you guys, and, you know, and Gareth got to see with an audience. That was his first public viewing, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
So that sort of, and then we had a couple more festivals in 2016 that we won, and then that was it. And then, you know, we've been on this distribution path. I mean, for a film like ours, finding an audience, you know, it's its own mountain. You know, Mike and I often say like it's a boulder. You know, we're constantly pushing, you know, trying to make sure, you know, we don't let it roll back on us. You know, people need to know about our film. People need to know, like, you know, even though it has a low budget, doesn't mean it's low quality.
Right.
And I mean that both in the look of the film and the story.
No, it's one of the finest independent films I've seen in a very, very, very long time. You know, Keith and I, because we've worked as sort of a publicity machine of a sorts for independent films, and we're always trying to hype them. I keep coming back to I'm Alone and say that this is one of the, for an independent film, it's one of the slickest and best told movies I've seen, probably of this nature, ever.
Wow!
Thank you.
And I really mean that because, as I said, I loathe found footage movies. I despise them with a passion because no one knows how to actually do them. In fact, I've only seen two ever, yours being the first, that actually managed to make a good use out of that medium. But to have it such enormous, yeah, well, but to also give it to have such humanity to it is something that I really think a lot of horror fans should. I think this is a movie that they would all gravitate to because it gives the movie a sense of resonance and something they can almost relate to, you know, especially if you're a zombie fan. This is a movie that I think all zombie fans should actually go see because now it's being told from another point of view.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was something pretty big when we were first writing it. Is that most zombie films were told from one point of view, and you never saw the other side. And we really we kind of called this our Omega Man meets The Shining, because we really, you know, with the Shining, you know, they tell that singular story and you follow Jack's character, you know, constantly, and we kind of wanted to see that. We wanted to follow one character who didn't know what was going on, and he had to slowly figure things out as this virus was taking him over. And
being too self-aware, I think, is a problem with most films.
Yeah.
Especially those found footage where they're like running into a burning building. Like, they're very self-aware of the dangers, which inherently makes them, not I would say dumb, but like it.
Well, I think that there would be some sort of, you know, you didn't know. There would be some sort of confusion in the beginning. Like, there aren't, you know, it seems like in movies today we have the answer. We already know to brain the zombies, and we already know these things already. So I felt like if we put Jacob and Mason in a world where they had to figure out how to do things, where it wasn't so obvious, I thought that would change the wheel, you know, slightly.
And the word zombies aren't used because they're not there yet. But to be honest with you, like, I'm sure if we were fortunate enough to do a second or a third one, the word zombies would have come up. It wasn't that we were like hiding from the word. It's like the word exists in their universe. It's just there's no one said there, you know, no one except for maybe Marlo and Mason in their room. You know, they're the ones who know the undead are coming back to life. You know, like, it's almost like the press release has to come out in that world to say, this is truly the undead.
Well, if zombies happen for real today, I mean, what's to say you brain a zombie and he doesn't die?
Yeah.
You know, like, so there's, we've been told this by movies. So people know that by movies. They don't, we wanted to kind of flip that and be like, what if nobody knew? What if we just did?
This is our, somebody mentioned a few weeks ago, like, your movie's reminiscent of Night of the Living Dead, which, I think is an amazing compliment. And I think there was some subconscious thought into that. Night of the Living Dead, it was like thing just broke out, and in that story, people were stuck in a house, and we just and one of the things we wanted to do was we wanted to limit the being contained. That was a rational thought for us, was let's make the wilderness as wide open feel very claustrophobic. So the camera being on their faces a lot, what was around the corner, what was out of frame of the camera was unsettling, and then we told a separate story of Mason and Dr. Marlowe in the room, in a very claustrophobic room, so you had this like juxtaposition of like, you're both under duress. You just have different things you're afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this film, after you did the film festival circuit, and then you were looking for some kind of distribution arm, and now it has been released as of September 26th. What platforms? I know that it's on DVD. Is that correct? Or did you do a Blu-ray of it, or?
We're finalizing the outlet because the physical medium, we have a lot of fan interest for a physical copy. It's just a lot of distributors now. Find different outlets.
Yeah, we're streaming and VOD right now. No physical copies. We are iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, Vudu. We're on any of your VODs, whether it's Comcast or Charter. We're Microsoft.
Yeah, you can pretty much find us
PlayStation.
You can find us on almost every streaming. You can rent YouTube. You can rent it on YouTube.
Yeah, rent on YouTube. Fandango now has rent and buy as well.
Wow.
But the truth of the streaming, you watch on the biggest screen you have. I mean, it's like not just tooting our own horns, but it's like we have a beautiful vista of 10,000 feet to watch on the phone. Yeah, you might enjoy it, but watching it on a nice, 50-inch TV, or if your friend has a screening room, that's the way to really embrace the aspect of it.
Ever think about putting it in 4K?
Yeah.
Someone wants to pay for it.
Because we're looking at getting a 4K television down the road, and
that'd be willing to make it 8K.
Well, yeah. I'm sure that's.
Oh hell, make it 32K.
We'll get there.
Jacob Fitz is sitting in the room with you.
I mean, you see the hair on Fitz's neck if you did that.
Yeah.
So
go
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So right now, we're streaming on a lot of stuff, and we're working on the Netflix, Amazon. Our distributors are actively working on making sure we can get it like in the home as part of that Netflix streaming site.
Mm-hmm. So what are any plans in the future?
Well, we're always writing. We're always plotting. I Am Alone took 5 years. I mean, I think you can speak for both of us. We would like to avoid crowdfunding another film and coming out of our own pockets, because our pockets still have a lot of lint in them. So
yeah, but we've been writing, and we have not only a sequel for I Am Alone. We have a few other movies that if presented the opportunity to make another one of these, we have a lot of stories to tell.
I mean, something I've always wanted to do just for a deleted scene was to actually shoot an actual episode with Gareth as a host. Like, it would never, we thought elements, but like a 5-minute version for a DVD outtake, of like what the show may actually look like. We didn't have a budget. That was an idea we had, was let's have extra content of like this real show, but we never got to do it.
Yeah, that would make for great extra, bonus content if you did that. And so, purely from an amusing standpoint, any further plans on Halloween CO2?
I was just thinking about that the other day, and I realized like how influential John Carpenter truly was, because I think that was Mike and I's like first true foray into, like horror.
Yeah, it was like 17, 18 years ago.
Yeah, it was 20. It was 97 or 98, and like we were building jibs out of pool skimmers, and we really wanted to tell a horror film, and we ran out of budget.
Yeah,
we ran out of budget and high 8K from that one. I mean,
Yeah.
and but Carpenter, something that maybe I don't know if your fans will be interested. If they watch the movie, we'd love to hear them figure out the I would say 5 to 8 John Carpenter movie references that are in our film. So if they see it, we'd love to see if they figured out the subtle and the not so subtle references we made to his movies, because he's very influential on it.
Yeah, to quite a number of films, and for anybody that's wondering about Halloween CO2, that listen to our
episode
other
50.
interview, episode 50.
Listen to episode 50. We kind of wax on about that a little bit, and that's the only reason I brought it up, because to me that's just one of the funniest things ever. So for anybody who wants to know more about what you guys are working on, if they want to know more about this movie, what sort of presence does it have in social media? The Twitters, the Facebooks, other places on the interwebs?
If our hashtag is I Am Alone the Movie, that'll be like the fastest way to find stuff. But we have a Facebook page. It's just I Am Alone. Twitter is I Am Alone Movie. Our website is IamAlone.com. IamAloneTheMovie.com. Twitter, Instagram, we're really active. We're releasing some clips in the next coming weeks, little Instagram videos. We're trying to get a lot more active on. Yeah, we haven't got boomerangs yet, but we're getting there.
So we're posting on all social media every day.
Okay, and you just type in, like you guys released our press release. We've been getting a lot of really good. I think a movie like ours, people aren't aware of ours, and I think we've been surprising people. We've surprised you. And a lot of these other sites that we've, that have been fortunate to get our film have also been really surprised. So you can read, just type in, you can find a lot of good reviews, on us.
Very good. So if a person wants to know all the various platforms that is available, I mean, they can go to the press release that we published at tggeeks.com, but they could also go to imalone.com, and all the areas that they could find it will be listed there.
Yeah, if they go to IamAloneTheMovie.com, they have all the platforms.
If you go in, once the video and you enter the page, on the bottom, there's literally a bar that says available here, and each one of those icons, like iTunes, is clickable, and it'll take them directly to the purchase pages.
Very good.
Super. Well, thank you, Mike and Rob, for being on the show this time.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate it.
We love doing that.
It was great talking to you guys again, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again soon on yet another project.
Yeah, let's not wait 90.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Absolutely not.
We just had nothing to talk about for 90.
Oh, I'm sure we could have found something.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, this is Robert Palmer of I'm Alone the Movie.
And Michael Weiss from I Am Alone the Movie.
And you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
And here's a few selected birthdays for October 16th through October 22nd. October 16th, Angela Lansbury.
I guess it's time to pull out the broomsticks and bed knobs.
There you go. Yep. And also on October 16th, Oscar Wilde.
There's only one thing in the world worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about.
And we kind of live that sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
And a Facebook friend of ours, Austin Sloan.
I'll have to talk to him sometime. He's got some nice little acting cred under his belt.
Yeah, he's working regularly anyway.
And he was on Grimm.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, exactly. October 17th, Mark Gatiss and Irene Ryan. You know who Irene Ryan is?
I know that name. I'm probably going to get this wrong, but was she Beverly Hillbillies?
Yes.
She was
Granny.
Oh, she was Granny, okay.
Yep, Granny on Beverly Hillbillies. And Arthur Miller, famed author. And
Death of a Salesman, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and wasn't he the wife of, or the husband?
The wife, yes.
The husband of Ann Miller?
Yes, he was the wife of Ann Miller. It's a fact.
It's a fact. Also on October 17th, that was not what I was going after, but
no, but there we are.
There we are. October 17th, also Felicity Jones, who was in Rogue One.
She was in Rogue One as well as a monster calls.
Yes,
oh my
and we
God.
saw that just before.
It was before the holidays.
Yes.
But we published the review in the new year, and I've got to say, people, if you have not seen A Monster Calls, please do so. It's available on a multitude of streaming media. This movie is unbelievably glorious.
Yeah, it's really great. Also on October 17th, Cameron McIntosh of
Big musical producer.
Yes.
Les Mis, Phantom.
Yeah, among others. And our very good friend, Mr. Neil Holford, October 17th. Happy birthday, Neil.
Happy birthday, Neil.
October 18th, Zac Efron, Howard Shore, and Zach Noe Towers.
Hey, Zach.
We did a little interview with him,
and
a
he
review
also
of
did a little short film.
The shoot.
And I'm ashamed that I cannot remember the name of it.
Killer Friends.
Killer Friends. Oh, my word! And as much as it embarrasses me that I don't remember the title, or I didn't remember it, I do remember the short. The movie is brilliant.
It is. It is. October 19th, Jon Favreau. Peter Max, if anybody knows who Peter Max is. Anybody, a child of the 60s and 70s, you will know who Peter Max is.
Right.
His artwork. And also on October 9th, Auguste Lumiere.
He's the inventor of the candlestick.
Yeah, exactly. Born in 1862. As well as the candlestick, he invented the first cinematograph.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yes. Actually, he was instrumental in creating the first camera to project movies on the screen. And his brother, Louis, was actually the one that was more interested in making films. Auguste was just the inventor that created it, and Louis was the one that made the Lumiere brothers famous.
And because of that, we have the movie Hugo.
Yep. Absolutely. August 20th, Tom Petty, who just recently died.
Oh, man,
October
too
2nd.
young.
Yes.
Way too young.
Yeah. Jerry Orbach. Charles Ives, famed American composer who wrote in a very unusual way.
We just heard something the other day on the radio. The melody was very traditional, but the accompaniment was anything but.
Yep.
I wish I could remember what that was.
It was a hymn of some kind. It was very traditional.
Very, very traditional
hymn, but the accompaniment was unusual.
So almost atonal.
And keeping with the musician piece, Thomas Newman, who is a composer, film composer, who is another chameleon, and continuing on in the vein of great musical accomplishments, Grandpa Jones.
Okay, you lost me.
He was on Hee Haw.
Oh,
Grandpa Jones.
That Grandpa.
Doom, despair, and agony on me.
Okay.
Deep dark depression, excessive misery.
Yes.
Also on October 20th, Bela Lugosi. We were just
talking about him last night.
We were watching Frankenstein, finishing up watching the original Frankenstein from 1931.
And watched a little documentary about the life of Boris Karloff and some of the movies that Karloff did with Lugosi, and thinking, wow, what a gem it is to see such two icons.
Exactly.
Just talking to each other.
Exactly. October 21st, Carrie Fisher.
Who will be gracing the screens, despite the fact that we've lost her. She'll be gracing the screens very, very soon.
Very soon.
In the latest Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Also on October 21st, Lillian Bettencourt, who was the biggest shareholder or owner of L'Oreal, and Sir Georg Solti, or George Solti, as some people like to say. October 22nd, Derek Jacobi. Christopher Lloyd, who...
I'm sorry, everybody thinks of him as Father Jim in Taxi, but I cannot help but think of him as Commander. Well, Kirk, you're not going to give me Genesis? Okie doke.
Well, and then also he was, Doc Brown.
Well, Doc Brown,
of
but
course.
to me, he's always going to be Krug. I mean, I'm sorry, that's where my brain heads.
Yeah. Also on October 22nd, Annette Funicello and Joan Fontaine, who was the sister of Olivia de Havilland.
Ah.
Also, Franz Liszt, born in 1811, that your mother looks like every once in a while when she lets her hair grow out. Or so she says.
Oh, she can never listen to this episode now.
Also, the last on October 22nd, Sarah Bernhardt.
We met her a few years back.
No, not
Sarah Bernhardt.
No, this is the original Sarah Bernhardt, born in the 1800s, who was actually one of the first big stars of stage and screen vaudeville, and her portrayal of Camille and several other films gave David Zucker the funds to start Paramount Pictures.
Aha!
And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Mark your calendars and plan to attend PIY 2017. PIY is the Podcast It Yourself workshop, and it's happening in Phoenix, Arizona, October 28th, 2017. This interactive workshop is being held for people who want to start a podcast or want to learn more about podcasting from experienced and respected podcasters. Learn about software, hardware, accessories, best practices, and more. And of course, we've got prize drawings to make podcasters weak in the knees. The workshop coincides with the long-awaited release of Podcasting for Dummies 3rd edition. Authors T. Morris and Chuck Tomasi will be at DIY to answer questions and sign books. Oh, and it also happens to be T's birthday, so come help him celebrate after the workshop is done. You do not want to miss this event. Spaces are limited. Go to podcastingfordummies.com and sign up for PIY 2017. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Podcastingfordummies.com and PIY 2017. Go. Now.
Go check it out, podcastingfordummies.com, and check out PIY 2017. It's only $30, and we're going to be there. Chance to see us. So now it's time for a little feedback.
A wee bit of feedback.
A wee bit of feedback.
Not quite a wee. A wee.
It's only a wee, all the way home.
May we. So, starting off with episode 138. And that was the episode where we talked a little bit about Song of Sway Lake. And we got a comment from Patricia Chica. She says, that's a great quickie episode. Glad you quoted my comment. And the review of the Song of Sway Lake is fantastic, too. Well, thank you, Patricia. We were very happy to see that movie. And we'll be talking about it again in an episode or so down the road. And then we got a message from our good friend Arkle, Brian Weber. He writes, turns out there already is an incorrect Babylon 5 quotes blog. It hasn't been updated since February, but there could be for any number of reasons. I'd give it at least another 6 months before deciding if it's a dead page or not, and then he gives a link, which we will put in the show notes for this episode. And then we got a message from Tommy Cannon, and he says, yay, I'm adding some feedbook. He actually wrote that feedbook.
Feedbook.
But he wrote that.
Book.
Yeah. That it says
Feedback.
Feedback.
Who cares?
He says,
feedback.
I know. A feedback. Oh. That swinging ride, be it Tarzan, and we're talking about the swinging ride that we saw patent for Disneyland as a possible Spider-Man ride. And if anybody wants to see that again, we will have the link for that story in our show notes as well. Anyway, Tommy writes, that swinging ride, be it Tarzan, Spider-Man, or Indiana Jones, getting extra whip happy does at first sound seem like it would force me to choke down extra Dramamine. However, I'm often surprised by the nuance and thoughtfulness that goes behind the Disney theme park attractions. I look forward to it. And if I barf, then I barfed in the name of fun. Well, you know, I can't argue with that. Not at all.
Yeah.
See, and then we also last week, or I should say, on our page, great contributor to the page, Ro, she did a review for The Mountain Between Us. And Kathy Rippey Falconberry, she writes, "Yay, glad to see the good review. I'm very interested in seeing this." So, Kathy, when you do see it, let us know what you think about it. And then we also published that the gay thriller B&B is going to be released in the UK and in the US, and Hamish Downey just simply writes, "Congratulations on that." And then lastly, there was a comment regarding our review of Blade Runner 2049, and we got a comment from indie filmmaker himself, Jordan Blazek, and he writes, "It was absolutely breathtaking."
Yeah.
And that's our feedback for this week.
That's our feedback. And I just want to throw a shout out to Mark Ross, who is the director, jack of all trades for
Curse of
Phantom Menace.
Curse of the Star Wars.
Curse of the Phantom.
Curse of the Sith.
Anyway,
Curse of the Clones.
We had an interesting discussion.
That's right. You two, the
Facebook.
two of you were chatting back and forth on that.
On about Blade Runner 2049, and he said that he gave it about a 75, or we probably gave it an 80. And
I thought we gave it more than an 80.
But anyway,
I think it was closer to like a 90, if not 95.
But we had a really good conversation about that. So shout out to Mark, and we should talk to Mark again.
Oh God,
he's
especially
getting ready to do a crowdfunding for finishing
for
funds.
the next phase.
Yeah,
we need to talk to him again.
Yeah, so, and that's it for our comments. And if you have a comment or a question, or you want to say something about our show or anything, you can leave feedback on the end of each episode in the comment section, on our Facebook page, on Twitter, on YouTube episodes. You can even call us at our listener line at 469-TG Geeks. That's 469-844-3357. And please, please, please play nice.
The force is strong with the Two Gay Geeks webcast.
Okay, we have been threatening this conversation for a couple of weeks now. Now we're finally going to have it.
What's that?
Star Trek Discovery.
What's that?
It's a show that you said is not Star Trek.
Oh, yeah. And what else?
And we're going to talk about a show
Redenbacher.
About yes. It's a flying kernel of popcorn.
It is a flying kernel.
Flies through space.
Hey, it does look like kind of a kernel of popcorn.
Sort of,
kind of.
Well, maybe. Maybe.
The Orville.
Yeah, the Orville, which some people say is Star Trek.
Yeah. So
okay, so we've seen 4 episodes of Discovery and 5 of Orville.
Where do we start?
Well, I know that you and I initially watched the first two hours, and we both were very unhappy with what we had seen.
Yeah, it was. The problem was that all of the hype around it and the whole we're going to stick with canon and we're going to blah, 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 and this and that and the other and all these other things, and it behind a paywall, and just all the baggage that came with Star Trek Discovery was kind of influencing the way we looked at it. But by the 3rd episode in, or actually in between the 2nd and the 3rd episode, is when I made the decision that if you don't think of it as Star Trek in the sense of classic Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, any of those pieces, and the way they told stories and the way they were structured, then it's okay.
Right. Yeah,
you know, and if you look at it kind of as what they won't say, it's a reboot in essence.
Yeah, in essence, it is a reboot.
Really, if you
they
look at it.
They keep calling it a prequel, but I just don't see the evidence of it being a real, true, honest-to-God prequel. To me, there's a lot of lip service. And I agree. If I don't think of it as actual Star Trek, but something that simply got Star Trek wrapping on it,
elements of Star Trek.
Yeah, then I find I can digest it a lot better.
Yeah.
One of the things that really bothers me is just the overall narrative of this show. Now, on the other podcast that I work, Fusion Patrol, Eugene and I did an episode where we talked solely about the pilot. And one of my big problems is that these stories, especially the first 2 parts, did not feel very self-contained.
Right.
And as it is, I mean, all we hear about is everything that went wrong in the first 2 parts, and how our primary character ends up in the situation she is. I mean, we actually don't get on board the ship until the 3rd episode. So right. It feels like the first 2 parts are merely the prequel to the pilot.
Exactly.
Which is just odd. And the thing that I have to keep telling myself, and I don't necessarily know if this is a good idea or a bad one, but I have no say in this, and that is these are not self-contained stories, and that the writers are approaching this with the idea that each of these stories is a chapter in a book.
Right.
So you're going to kind of get sort of a sense of incompletion, not cliffhanger, but just it just kind of stops. And that's what we're seeing a lot, where the episode just kind of comes to a halt, and you have to watch the next one in order to see where it's all going to go. I don't like that. Now, that's just me. I'm sorry. If other people don't have a problem with that and they're able to enjoy the show for what it is, great, no problem. Fantastic. It's just not my kind of thing. And but the part that bothers me most of all is that the sense of optimism and idealism that was at the heart of Trek that Roddenberry had created is not there. They've only given it lip service.
Right.
And I saw an interesting article the other day where I don't know who this person was writing for, but he says that the dark realism of Star Trek Discovery is not the optimism or idealism is what we need right now. And my answer to that is no. And no.
Yeah.
I do not accept that, because I can go anywhere in the world and find that dark realism just outside my doorstep, or just turn on the television and there it is.
Just open up your mobile device.
Right. I can find that dark realism anywhere I go. When I'm going to a television show, I do not want to see that. I am looking for something that is going to say,
take me out of where I'm at.
Not just take me out of where I'm at, but take me into a show that says, this is what we can be. This is what we can achieve for. And as silly and as satirical as the Orville can be, because it is Seth MacFarlane, they've done a far better job at doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, if you're going to slap the name Star Trek on it, it has to be, that forward-looking, optimistic, utopian, and there's bad things that do happen. But
right, you can't get away from that.
Yeah, you don't.
But you don't need to embrace it.
Exactly.
Eugene and I also said one time, and I fully agree with this. Okay, so maybe this almost utopia kind of idea, and Star Trek will be the first to say that they haven't achieved any kind of utopia society, but it's certainly a better one than what we've got now. And maybe watching that, maybe I am deluding myself. But you know what? If I am, I cannot think of a healthier delusion than to look at something that says, that speaks to our better nature.
Right.
As opposed to what Discovery does. I mean, the first thing that we hear in part 1 is, if we want to stop a war, we have to, blow our enemy into oblivion.
Yep.
Strike first, ask questions later. Man, what a terrible idea. So I find Discovery to be just an enormously dark series. Am I fascinated by it to an extent? Well, yes, I am. And this is all about going into what I'm assuming is going to be the Klingon war that Axanar was about to go to. But somehow I keep getting the feeling that if Axanar had been given the opportunity to do this the way they wanted it to, that it would have been a far better approach. That okay, I'm not going to get into the politics of that, but suffice it to say, I think Orville has done a much better job at trying to tell us a better story, despite the
Right.
fact that it's got some enormously silly moments.
Oh
in
my
it.
God, this last episode was just, oh my God.
It was,
would you
didn't care
please
for it.
stop? Just stop.
Stop with the jokes.
Stop with the jokes. Stop with the craziness, I mean,
Yeah, it was not one of its finer moments.
yeah, it did have a good message, and that's kind of the feel of Orville. It's telling those Star Trek morality plays
Yes.
that Discovery is not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interjecting the humor and the humor of Seth MacFarlane, which most of the time I can do without, but
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally he's kind of a one-note actor in what I've seen so far.
I mean, he's an excellent voice artist, but you're right. In terms of what we're seeing right now, I'm not seeing really any depth to him. But one thing we have to remember, this is sort of like a mediocre ship.
Yeah.
With a mediocre crew. So we have to approach it from that standpoint. But at the same time, I saw some behaviors in the last episode that just didn't thrill me to any degree. But yeah, it's the messages that I think are just really wonderful in that story. I remember when we saw the second one that I just was giving fist pumps in the air because I loved what they were trying to tell regarding the child of was it Borast?
Yeah, whatever.
I believe it is. Yeah, our big non-binary alien. The phenomenal stories being told there. Bortus, yes.
Bortus.
Actually, and that was episode 3.
Yeah.
Excellent story being told there. So I find myself really more leaning towards the bright, optimistic future of Orville as opposed to Discovery. I enjoy watching them both.
Yep.
For now. But if I have to pick one, I would pick Orville. But, I'm kind of curious as to what do all of you out there have to say about that?
Yeah, let us know what you think about Star Trek Discovery and the Orville, or one or the other, or both, or
there are no wrong answers.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments.
Right.
And as always, we have a few follow-up items. Check our website for calendar, birthdays, cons, film festivals, etc. And one of the things that we have on the calendar is Phoenix Comicon Fan Fest, November 11th and 12th. Quite a few guests, and the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy
Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Ernie Hudson, Kevin McNally, and several of the Steven Universe cast members. So check out myfanfest.com. Phoenix Comic-Con returns to the Convention Center on May 24th through the 27th, 2018. I'll have more information after FanFest is completed. Arizona Opera presents a not-to-be-missed opportunity, Hercules versus the Vampires. We got to meet one of the cast members.
Yes, he plays a rock.
He's playing a rock. Yes.
Playing a rock, yes.
We got a chance to chat with him on earlier this week.
As well as the conductor.
Just personally, as well as the conductor, yes, who has conducted it before. So it was really kind of a neat little thing. Hercules versus the Vampires. It's a new hybrid film and live music event using 1961 Mario Bava film Hercules in the Haunted World as the base, with new music composed by Patrick Morganelli. Basically set the dialogue to music, and it's going to be
I'm very, very curious.
Performances are October 21st and 22nd at the Symphony Hall downtown. Get your tickets.
It? I thought it was at the...
No, it's Symphony Hall.
Is it?
It is.
Really? I thought it was the Tempe Center for Performing Arts.
Nope, Symphony Hall.
They're doing it at
Right
Symphony
here.
Hall.
Wow. I'm looking at the tickets right now.
No kidding.
October 21st. Now, the 22nd may be someplace else, but the 21st it's at Symphony Hall.
I didn't realize they were performing it at Symphony Hall.
Well, I think that was a plan at one point. So check out more and get your tickets at Arizona Opera at azopera.org. Podcast it yourself, PIY 2017, October 28th. Sign up now. It's only $30.
Less than 2 weeks away.
Yep. Do it. Come see us and say hi at the Podcast It Yourself. I'm gonna be presenting what not to do in podcasting, or best practices, shall we say? Or
that's the politically correct way of putting it. Best practices.
Best practices, yes. Or what not to do, or I've done it the hard way, so you don't have to.
Right.
And you're going to be doing some moderation.
I'll be moderating the panel.
Panels. And also, we're going to be at the Guadalajara Film Festival in Los Angeles on November 3rd for a screening of Morning After.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. And Phoenix Comicon Fan Fest,
the
November
week
11th
after.
to 12th.
Oh, my word. Gosh, we haven't slowed down, have we?
No, we have not. We have not.
No.
So it's like boom, boom, boom. 3 weekends in a row.
We've been going pretty much nonstop. I mean, except for that little vacation break.
Yep. But it's not as crazy as it was last year.
No, not quite. No.
And as everybody knows, and with the interview that we had today, that we're huge supporters of independent creators and filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, etc. There's a lot of talent out there, especially like what we just talked to them. They produced a fabulous film.
Yes, absolutely.
And,
there's enormous talent.
Crowdfunding. And so if you see a crowdfunding campaign going on, please consider supporting it. Usually you can get involved for as little as $1, and you can all the way up to funding the whole thing if you want, if you have that kind of money. You know, some of them are actually small productions, $400 or $500. You never know.
You know, and as you said earlier, Mark Ross is getting ready to launch the latest crowdfunding campaign for Curse of the Phantom Shadow.
Yes.
Curse of the Phantom Shadow. And
hopefully we'll be talking to him soon and get some more specifics on that.
And what little I've seen looks amazing.
Absolutely
that is a great movie to get in on, so by all means do it.
Yep.
So, special thanks to Doctor Who Talking Who. They published the Doctor Who Fancast Guide that republishes many of our stories and articles. And you can find the Fancast Guide by going to Twitter and searching @TalkingWho. Also, earlier in the episode, you heard some feedback from Brian Weber. He is Arkle, and he publishes the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News on Twitter. He is there known as the Human Arkle, and, of course, also republishes much of our content. And you can find him by going to Twitter, searching for @Arkle. And he is on Tumblr with the incorrect Star Trek Voyager quotes. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. Just make sure your boss isn't watching over your shoulder as you do so.
We always like to give a shout out to The Lookie Show, not only for their Twitter love that they give to us, but also their YouTube show, Lookie Show. Check it out. They do some really unique reviews of films and TV shows, among other things.
I'm still dying for some voice feedback from the twins.
Yes, it would be wonderful.
that would just make me so happy.
Absolutely.
Special shout out to the Facebook group, The Gay Geek, for allowing us to post our episodes on their page. And plus, it's a really, really awesome page. I know, I say it every week, but the only reason I say it is because it's absolutely true. I really do love the content that I've gotten there.
Because we get to post our stuff there.
No. No.
It is a great group.
It really is a great group. I've seen some fantastic conversation that takes place. There's some fabulous artwork, some of which is on my iPhone right at this very moment. So you can find them by going to facebook.com/group/thegaygeek. And as always, our most heartfelt gratitude and thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Yes, thanks, Jeremiah. And we want to remind you to occasionally click on our Amazon ads. It doesn't cost anything, and you don't have to buy anything. Just click on an ad. It tells Abaddon, yes. Amazon. Abydos, yes.
We've just gone through the Stargate.
Yeah, there we go. Tells the Abydos people that we're sending people their way.
Yes, we're sending people through the Stargate to Abydos.
Yes, and
watch out for those Goa'uld. They're really menacing.
They are. And if you choose to buy something, you can click on one of our search ads and do that. So thanks for consideration.
Yes, I mean those Abydosian galleries and marketplaces are really amazing.
Yeah, and we have actually at the bottom of this episode, we've got the link for I Am Alone on Amazon.
That's right.
You can rent there. And lastly, check us out, but not leastly, check us out on iHeartRadio, and please rate us on iTunes and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Who knows what we're going to have next time?
I'm not entirely sure.
There's a couple of things that I would like to do, but I can't say anything about those right now. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, you tease.
Yes. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace.
Cheers.